Call this public meeting of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District to order. Let the record show a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.
Yeah.
I believe that we have a speaker. So welcome, everyone. We're glad you're all here. Happy fall. It doesn't seem like fall since it still seems like summer. But welcome to all of you. We do have one speaker this evening, so before he comes, I want to just give you the information about the rules. So we are excited that you're here to share your opinion. A few rules of order regarding the public comment of this meeting. According to board policy, each speaker has up to 3 minutes to speak. The speaker also may provide a written statement to the board to supplement his or her comments if desired. We will have our board secretary, Mr. Newcomb, keep time tonight, and we'll hold up time cards showing the time you have remaining. It will also be on the screens. The board may not ask or answer questions or make any comment regarding public comments not associated with posted agenda items. The board may respond with specific factual information or existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries on a posted agenda item. Please note that to comply with FERPA laws on student privacy, you may not mention a student by name. And additionally, according to board policy, you may not make derogatory comments about any individual staff member, either by name or title. Should you need to file a complaint, you may do this through our formal grievance process outlined in the board policy. And our speaker tonight is Eric Cryle. Good evening.
President Tolbert, trustees, gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm here to speak with you again about the appraisal district. Before I read my prepared remarks, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity you gave me at the last meeting, nominating me to the for a position on that board. As a sign of my commitment to you and the appraisal district, I'm writing this letter as a statement of transparency so you as a voter know without question where I stand on the issues facing the district. First, the purpose of the appraisal district is to provide fair and equitable assessment at 100% of market value every January 1st. This is what is required by the Texas Property Tax Code. The appraisal district is not a taxing entity, but its actions do affect tax policy. Tax policy is the responsibility of school boards and city councils. If the tax code does not list an action as an appraisal district function, then I believe it to be beyond the purview of its board. I'm specifically referring to the enactment of an artificial 5% threshold on property values. Regarding the recent changes to the district's reappraisal plan, I cannot and do not support them. Not because as a homeowner, I don't want lower property taxes, but because there was little opportunity for the consequences of those actions to be studied. When the school districts were asking for time to study the impact of the change may have on their finances, the request was declined. Everyone was told if the plan wasn't enacted with such haste, then it would have to wait until the following year due to statutory deadlines for when reappraisal plans must be approved. The current board talks about being transparent, but true transparency would have dictated answering why this change had to happen now and this year. A change of this magnitude demanded more than 40 days of analysis to understand the true effects. As such, I cannot support the change. Furthermore, what every entity should be concerned with is seeing that your constituents are taken care of and you have a complete and accurate certified tax roll. Whether it be a lack of investment in technology, a subpar mass appraisal system, taxpayer data leaks, record tax protests, missing or inaccurate property data, or unfiled business renditions, what is clear is the appraisal district is facing many challenges. To address these challenges, I've developed a 5-point plan to serve as a blueprint to tackle the issues, and I'd like to touch on 2 of them. Number 1, community and tax entity education. Council members and school trustees are always changing. The appraisal district must partner with the entities and send out staff at least once a year to provide updates on district activities at workshops or public meetings. This will allow for a better flow of communication between the partners and adds a level of accountability to the appraisal district. Regarding the community, TAD staff need to attend community town halls and be present to answer questions and concerns from taxpayers and business owners. This exchange of information will be invaluable to taxpayers' understanding of the role of the appraisal district, and the feedback received by the TAD staff can be relayed to the appraisal board to address deficiencies and make the district more taxpayer friendly. Ultimately, this is about the appraisal district being a better communicator. Number 2, the creation of a tax entity liaison. The chief appraiser has many responsibilities, and the entities deserve to have someone specifically focused on their needs. Someone who can act as a point of contact and solicit feedback from the entities and disseminate information on appraisal district activities. This will free the chief appraiser up to run the district, focus on fixing the incorrect CAMA data, stop data leaks, be responsive to employees, and ensure the district is in compliance with all laws and regulations that affect it. As I hope is evident, I have a deep desire to make the appraisal district function at its highest level. I have the time that will be required to solve the challenges. With me, no one will ever have to question if I'm acting in any capacity other than the appraisal district board of director. As it is the tax entity's right to appoint members that serve on a city council or a school board, it is my belief that there is value in having members who are independent of that scenario. If the goal is to have an appraisal district that represents the best interests of the tax entities and the taxpayers, then it is my hope that you will seek to appoint people who want to work towards that goal. As I stated at the beginning, the primary mission of the appraisal district is to provide a fair and equitable market value appraisal every January 1st with correct data to support the number. This statement should be omnipresent for every individual when performing the function of an appraisal district director. And if the action being considered runs contrary to this statement, then the action should be reconsidered. Finally, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has shown support for my appointment today. It is my hope to be part of the solution moving forward to help solve the issues facing the district. My pledge is this: I will not be your puppet, but I will always take your call and I will always listen to your feedback. And I'll always be working towards accomplishing the primary mission of the appraisal district to provide fair and equitable property appraisals every year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the Tassi Convention update. Some of the board members were able to go, some were not because of family conflicts. But for those of us that did, if you want to give a brief report on what you might have done or what you'd like to share, 1 or 2 things you did. On.
Caught me off guard a little bit.
You want to start down here?
Okay, we'll start down here.
Down there with both.
Sure.
Sorry, you look like you were ready, so I just.
No, I was trying to get my computer.
My
locked on.
apologies.
I went to several mini sessions, learned a lot, but probably the one thing I wanted to learn about was there was a wireless communications. There's a company called Diamond Communications, partnering with school districts and different entities that cell towers on the property. I think we definitely have some spots, most of our gyms where I can't get cell to work or Wi-Fi to work. So maybe we look into that or something. That's what they're working with school districts. So I also learned, I was surprised to learn that first responders have a completely different network than we do. So just because we don't have cell service, people, I've heard them say, well, what if they needed if this gym, somebody needed to get here, the cops couldn't call 911 or we couldn't call, but they have a totally separate network, so it's not to worry about. But they're called Diamond Communications. I guess I'm giving them a free plug here. We'll see.
There's a program through TASB too.
Oh, really?
TASB's
Okay.
program.
Yeah, that was TASB and Diamond was presenting, but it was interesting. And there's some revenue potential there too for the school district. So.
And just let you know, our team, Mr. Murdoch and also Dr. Barnes, and others have been working with them, and we've actually have an agreement with them now in order to seek out opportunities for that in the school districts. So.
I'll go through. I had a couple good sessions that I attended that I wanted to highlight. One was on the 2024 Texas Teachers Poll. It's a survey that's done by I think the Travel Spot Foundation. It was very interesting. A lot of stuff that we would have expected, probably that we would hear. I think the most interesting statistic in there was there's a declining line on how much teachers feel supported by the state, and it was only 15% of teachers this year that are in the survey that felt that the state supported them. Interesting statistic to see. The whole materials were put together very well, and I think I've shared the booklet with some of you, but if any of you guys want to take a look at that booklet, let me know. I'm happy to pass that around. And then the other one I'll highlight is there was a session that had to do with the underfunding due to the county appraisal districts and some of those disputes and whatnot, and that was an interesting session as well. We talked a lot about that in our meetings as well, but it was interesting to hear from some other school districts and other folks are going through as well.
Thank you. I was going to say that one, the district underfunding with chat appraisal, that was a very interesting one because it's happening all over the state. So Tarrant, of course, was one they mentioned, but it was a very interesting and had a lot of suggestions and things that we could look at. I also was I'm on the LTASB alumni board, and so I'm the election chair. So I had to spend quite a bit of time running that election, but we were successful and it was not contested, so that's a good thing. We had 3 new board members. The general sessions that I went to, John Maxwell and Jose Hernandez were both excellent. The Jose Hernandez, I would say you might want to Google him. He's an astronaut, and but he had, you know, his story is very uplifting and enlightening. So you can Google him, and I don't remember now how many times he got turned down, but he just kept pushing, and he finally got, I think it was like 27 or something denials, and then he finally was able to be an astronaut, and he, you know, of course, credited his teachers and that kind of thing. So it was really, really good. So.
Well, I went to the S-Band luncheon where we heard a legislature tell us how we weren't going to get any more money until Abbott got his way about vouchers, which was really encouraging. And then I went to prepare for the next session and pretty much heard the same thing. I think the elections on Tuesday may tell whether Abbott will get his way and get enough legislative votes to that don't like public schools and want to push the voucher system. That same one that both Paige and Marilyn, I gave you a little show and tell here because I thought that the first handout with districts with invalid property value. So I didn't really know, but this has been going on down in the valley and other places in Texas for a long time. Tarrant County is now going to do a 3-year appraisal, but some of these districts have been going through this for quite a while. And this was Orange Grove and Alpine that happened to be put in this presentation. But the diagram in front of you on the left shows where Tier 1 recapture districts get all of their money, and everybody else has local collections there in the bottom of the coffee cup, and the state share in the middle. And that withheld funding that is the white part, that's the part that because the property tax appraisal values are higher on the state than on your appraisal district, then that's the part that the state reduces the state funding from the school district. And that's the part they don't get because the appraisal district appraised their property taxes too low. So I thought that was a very good diagram that was understandable. The other page that I gave you were some resources that they gave you, and you can go to that website and put in your district and your facts, and it'll tell you how much the appraisal district will cost you if this gets passed. Or you can put in Tarrant County now, our particular situation, it'll tell you how much money the state will withhold from you once the appraisal values get different from the ones the state have. So those were just 3 good resources that I thought came out of that, and also a pretty straightforward, easy to understand diagram.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So I sort of went into this year, you could hear the theme. The public education is facing challenges, and you know, we recognize that same challenges for every district across the state because it's the same problem. So I just wanted to attend as many sessions as I could that might show us what other school districts are doing. As I attended those, I found that most of what they're doing that is successful, that's caused us to be able to make our budget and stuff, they're doing the same things that we're doing. So it's sort of a common thread. It was interesting to see in some of the smaller districts how they think way outside the box. If they're, you know, if they're a district that surround, you know, where the district themselves and everyone around them is open enrollment, how they, you know, they're battling for kids and trying to, you know, promote their programs, and just the out of the box thinking. One that just was very interesting to me, because when I first heard it, I thought, no way, that's not going to work. But as they defended it and talked about how they defended it, was a 4-day work week for, you know, how they made that work for their kids and how they made that attractive for their kids and their parents and their teachers. And of course, that was one of the larger sessions that I attended, because there were a lot of people there like me going, that can't work. And as they defended it, a lot of districts like, that's really, really interesting. And you know, came across as when you solve the problems like, you know, parents that need the Friday daycare if they're not in school, when they partner with churches to make those kinds of things happen and offer daycare and stuff like that. Just, I guess my takeaway was just the out of the box thinking that school districts are forced to do across the state because we're all facing the same challenges for the same reasons. I just thought that one was interesting. Wanted to share it. Tagging on Maryland with the open session. I've been to 2 now, and I got to say the most exciting thing about the open session is watching whoever the host school district is showcase their kids. And if, you know, for all the board members that are there, thousands of them, to get to see kids do what kids do, it's really, really exciting. So, and I think we do that well in this district too, with convocation and some of the things we do to try to put kids first. Districts that are putting kids first are successful. And for us, I think everybody would say the same thing. That's our favorite part of the open sessions, is watching the kids do their thing. And there were some really talented kids this year. Pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Education Services report. First one is a math update. Ms. Ballou and Mrs. King.
Good evening, President Tolbert, esteemed board members, and Dr. Chadwell. My name is Jeanette King. I'm the secondary math coordinator, and this is Denise Bilyeu. She's the elementary math coordinator. We want to thank you for the opportunity to share our math updates with you. We would like to take a moment to highlight a few celebrations within the mathematics department. We observed significant improvements in our summer Algebra 1 EOC passing rates. When we look at our passing percentage, it surpassed the region and the state, the region by 15% and the state by 13%, which resulted in 57% of our students passing this summer. Additionally, we've begun to use MAP growth assessments across grades K through 8, really to enhance our instruction and as a better indicator for STAR success.
We increased our elementary math instructional support, coach support at the campus level, and this has allowed additional support for our non-title campuses. And we're also in the initial phases of implementing a new curriculum that more effectively aligns with STAR 2.0.
This data pertains to the spring STAR and EOC assessments. We would like to express that we are not satisfied with these results. However, we are actively developing plans and making adjustments in response to this information. Our passing percentage for the 8th and Algebra 1 students was actually above the state and the region, but because our current 8th graders were our 7th graders last year, we are going to concentrate our improvement efforts on grades 3 through 8.
These charts illustrate the progress made by our summer school students, 2nd through 8th grade in mathematics, comparing their pre and post-test scores. Notably, all grade levels achieved significant improvements, with gains ranging from 10 to 60%.
This chart displays our beginning of year MAP data, illustrating the achievement percentiles by grade level in comparison to other students nationwide. We hope that this information can support teachers in delivering targeted instruction and addressing students' learning gaps.
Several strategic initiatives have been introduced at the elementary level this year. Students will monitor their growth data in their student data folders, and the teachers will utilize this information to enhance their instructional practices. Additionally, our instructional math coaches are facilitating MAP trainings at our 3 district CLCs and internalizing lessons with teachers to deepen their understanding of the TEKS and effectively teach complex concepts. Furthermore, to grow our coaches and intervention specialists as instructional leaders, they received training the last 2 weeks on the TEA Math Research-Based Instructional Strategies, RBs, to enhance their ability to support teachers with instruction. Moreover, we have made several curriculum enhancements this past summer, primarily targeting grades 2nd through 5th. We've revised assessments and lessons to align more with the rigor of STAR, and we also developed assessments in Eduphoria for second graders to provide more online testing opportunities for them. Given the positive feedback we've received, we will continue the Legends of Learning Fact Fluency program for second and third grade. Additionally, we have expanded the program to include our fourth graders to support their fact fluency development. Lastly, we were awarded a Math Supplemental Curriculum Grant, which we're utilizing to fund ST Math, an online conceptual math program. ST Math and MAP communicate across platforms, enabling teachers to deliver targeted instruction and effectively leverage their map data to address learning gaps during intervention time. Oh, don't have to click it. Oh, I had to click it. As evidence of our initiatives, these pictures demonstrate elementary students working together to solve math problems through hands-on learning and tracking map data for their data folders.
At the secondary level, we are going to continue to facilitate 6th and 7th grade district math professional learning communities. During these PLCs, we emphasize the comprehensive understanding of our curriculum, and we explore strategies and ways for teachers to enhance their numeracy as well as the students. And we're going to discuss methods for differentiating the curriculum to address our immediate students' needs. Furthermore, our middle school math coach will continue to collaborate with 6th and 7th grade teachers and will work with all middle school new math teachers. Additionally, at the middle school, teachers will utilize MAP growth assessment data to inform their instructional practices. During our professional learning days, we will be focused on fostering a productive math struggle and strategically planning opportunities for students to really engage with the mathematics. Lastly, we will enhance the curriculum, and we did that this summer to develop district common assessment reviews as well as unit warm-ups. The goal with this was to enable teachers to really focus on the how of teaching instead of the what. I would like to conclude our presentation with some images showcasing the secondary mathematics within our district. On the left, we see an amazing teacher effectively engaging students in a math task. The center image features our first district professional development day, where teachers were given a challenging task and asked to collaborate and work together. And finally, on the right, we have a view of a data wall in a mathematics classroom that a teacher utilizes to foster student investment in their own learning. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. We will answer any questions you have at this time.
Any questions? I have a couple, but anybody else?
Was the 7th grade just kind of across the whole district, across all 6 middle schools, the 7th grade math scores?
Yes.
That was consistent with all 6?
Yes, and I know we had talked about in previous years possibly moving the test and where our 7th advanced students test, but as we saw with the data, it just kind of inflated the 8th grade struggle when we moved them. So we decided to keep it the way it is, which actually works out well because TEA is creating a advanced math program, which models the exact way that we've been doing it for the last few years.
So the data that came out from TEA about that was more aligned with the test that we talked about engaging in, is that what you used this summer?
We did lots of hands-on this summer, and that's what we try to do because we figure that students just getting the traditional way didn't work. So the summer is filled with hands-on activities every day. We have training sessions with teachers so that they understand the way it was intended to be presented. And I think we're going to see that as well as we move into the new curriculum next year, which is very much focused on that same thing.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So you said that you got we received a ST Math grant. So how long is that? How long do we have that grant? Is it a 1 year or is it a?
It's a 2 to 3 years.
Oh, okay,
is
good.
what it
Okay.
is, yeah, because we had prepaid for some and then they're going to continue.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you very much. It's exciting to see the summer data. I hope that goes over.
We hope
continues.
so too.
Great. And the map data as well too. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Okay, our next one is Mr. Behringer to talk about the school calendar for, can't believe it, 25, 26. Where is the time going?
Dr. Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, esteemed board members, I have been asking myself that same question, Doc. I have a senior this year.
Oh,
So pray for
needs
me.
to slow down, doesn't it?
Yeah, I haven't figured that out quite yet, so I thank you all for your time. On page 20 of your board book, there is a timeline for the approval of the 25-26 school year calendar. Of course, one of the things that we try to do is ensure that we get input from our community, from, of course, our DPAC, and then district personnel as well. The recommended timeline is there on page 21, and that is to begin tonight with for me to present the calendar approval timeline to you all. And then on 2 days later, on Wednesday, I'll be meeting with DPAC to get feedback from them to hopefully and prayerfully guide that progress for our calendar. November the 11th of this year, we'll take it to leadership for review, the information that we received from district and also from the DPAC. November 20th, we'll present the draft calendar back to DPAC after we're able to put all of those dates together on one document. On December the 2nd, 2024, I present the proposal to district leadership for approval before coming back to the board with a proposed calendar on December the 16th. And then finally, bring it to the board in January on the 21st for final approval.
Do we expect it to look similar to this year's calendar, or we're not sure yet?
Yes, ma'am. We do expect. There, of course, are a number of considerations
Sure.
that we have that we try to ensure that the people that are giving that feedback, they have a very, very clear grasp of what those considerations are. But yes, ma'am, we do hope and pray that it's going to be very similar to the one.
Some teacher work days and those kind of things. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Full week for Thanksgiving, 2 weeks for Christmas, work days as well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Behringer. All right, we'll go next to our detection audit report, intruder detection audit report from Chief Ramirez.
Good evening, President Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. I'm here to report on District Intruder Audit Report. This past month, we did have an auditor come in. We did have 2 findings. We took those corrective actions for those findings. We'll be discussing them in a closed session further, but this report will also go to the safety committee as well. And really, if you have any questions, I'll have to answer them in the executive board.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just a note, President, we do have our safety security meeting tomorrow, in fact.
Yeah.
So, scheduled.
Great. Okay, so now our next reports are finance. So the first one will be the annual delinquent tax collection report, Mr. Welch, and I think that the group for Purdue Brandon is here.
Well, good evening, Dr. Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. With us tonight from Purdue Brandon Fielder College in Mott is I'll introduce Ms. Elizabeth Banda Calvo. She is our managing partner and has been serving our district for a number of years. And I'll let you take over the presentation and introduce your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board President, trustees, Dr. Chadwell. Again, my name is Elizabeth Calvo, and I'm the managing partner of Purdue Brandon's Arlington office. I'm just going to make a few introductions before I turn it over to Mr. Brink, who's going to be doing our report tonight. So with me tonight is Attorney Andy Brink and partner Allison Callison, and we're here to give you our annual delinquent tax collection report. I do have to admit that tonight is somewhat bittersweet, as it will be the last report that we give to the district with Dr. Chadwell as superintendent. Dr. Chadwell, thank you so much for working closely with us, and your team as well has worked with us so wonderfully to ensure that we maximize the revenue for the district. Thank you for always demanding excellence on behalf of Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, and thank you, board, for entrusting us to be your delinquent tax collection firm. We really appreciate working with you all. We've enjoyed it. We continue to enjoy it. So please, if you ever need anything, we're here for you, Dr. Chadwell, while you're still at the helm. And again, I'm going to let Andy make the report. But I do want you to know that Purdue Brandon's mission is to foster and create relationships that fuel success. And we believe that the relationship that we've established with Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD continues to fuel the kind of success that the district deserves. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to report with you tonight. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Brink for our report.
Thank you. Mr. Brink?
Madam President, Dr. Chadwell, rest of the Board of Trustees, it's an honor to be here before you tonight presenting our annual delinquent tax collection report and to highlight the relationship that Purdue Brandon has with the district. It's a relationship that started in 1988 and it's been going on for 36 years. And I think as we dive into the data and to some of the things we talk about tonight, you're going to see that a relationship of that caliber, of that length, breeds a certain amount of success, breeds a certain amount of performance and excellence, which benefits both parties. And that's what we've been enjoying for the past 36 years with the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District. So my time with you is brief tonight. So I have 4 items that I wanted to discuss. When I was here with you last October, we were still in the middle of our 2022 tax year. So I want to give a report on how the 2022 tax cycle ended up. I want to then turn to the 2023 tax year cycle, which we have a few months of data to report, and I have some very good news to share. Finally, as far as the numbers go, I'm going to give an account breakdown report, which shows where each one of the delinquent dollars for the district rests and how we view it as a law firm and its collectability. And finally, I wanted to talk about the district's relationship with Purdue Brandon and some of the events that we have sponsored and participated in, and the relationship that we have with the district. So let's get started. So the first slide on your presentation is the 2022 tax year analysis. So we started this tax year with an original tax levy of $201 million. On July 1st of 2023, 0.79% of that $201 million was turned over to our law firm, good for almost $1.6 million. So the pie chart should jump out at you because that red sliver is incredibly small. 99.21% of the roll is paid before it is turned over to our law firm to collect. That's a sign of a very healthy district, a district whose taxpayers are taking their duties seriously and who want to make their payments timely. So that's a very good sign for the city. The next slide that I wanted to show you is how we did for the entire 2022 tax year. So again, our calendar years run from July 1st to June 30th. So this is a tax year that ran from July 1st of 2023 all the way through June 30th of 2024. We started with that almost $1.6 million turnover. And of that, I'm proud to say that we collected 83.83%, good for $1.338 million. That's a very high mark. That's a mark that both parties should be proud of and celebrate. But it just gives us fodder for hopefully we can meet or achieve those goals in the next year, which I'll get into in a second. And that leaves a base tax remaining of $258,000. And it's important to note that amount is not written off or done away with. We still are vigorously trying to collect that amount of money for the district. So now we turn our attention to the 2023 tax year, a tax year whose original tax levy was $187 million. And on July 1st of 2024, a few months back, that the delinquent turnover was turned over to our law firm, and that was good for $1.011 million, or 0.54%. So if you look at the pie chart on the right, that sliver is even getting smaller as compared to last year. At 0.54%, that's an extremely small number, and that's a very good sign for the district. The next slide represents how we've done in the 3 months that we have had the 2023 tax year roll. So again, we started with that $1.011 million turnover. And of that, in these 3 months, I'm proud to report that we've collected 77.70%, good for $785,000. Again, we collected 83.83% last year. We're already at 77%, and we're looking to meet and exceed those marks that we set last year. So we're well on our way, and we're very proud of what we've done so far. And we have a base tax remaining of $225,000. The next slide on your presentation is an account breakdown chart. And what this does is it takes a snapshot of all the delinquent dollars that are owed to the district on a certain day. And this was a date in early October. And the amount that is owed to the district is $1.89 million. And so you can see the majority of the dollars that are owed to the district are in one of two categories, either in litigation or in action pending. In litigation means just that. It's in an active lawsuit. We're progressing through the legal stages of things, or there is a judgment on the account. Action pending takes a little bit more to define, because it includes several different things that we do to get the accounts ready to either be collected on their own or to push them to lawsuit. And that includes sending out notification letters, making telephone collections through our Arlington phone center, providing lien holder notifications, performing title research to see who are the correct parties for a lawsuit, attorneys conducting property inspections on business personal property from taxpayers in the district, and entering into payment arrangements that are favorable both for the law firm, the district, and for the taxpayers. The rest of the accounts, or the rest of the slices of the pie, account for about 36%. Those that are in deferral, which is a small number, those that are held in trust by the district, an even smaller number, and those that are in bankruptcy or those that are deemed uncollectible. And finally, that does it for the numbers part of the presentation. We just wanted to highlight that our representation of the district and our relationship of having you as a client goes beyond the numbers. And it really involves what the district wants, what the district and the Education Foundation, which I sit on the board of, we have a partnership that is very strong. And it is evidenced by at least the five events that we participated in this past year, including the Superintendent's Recognition of Giving Breakfast, the Women of Influence Scholarship Fund, the Because We Care Employee Giving Campaign, the Academic Awards Gala, and the annual charity golf tournament. These are just some of the ways that we partnered with the district to achieve its goals and to better the school, the teachers, the students, and the administration. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Questions?
Two comments. One, you guys are really, really good at collecting. It's very impressive, and I know that you'll do it in a gentle way. But also, yeah, thank you for your participation in our Ed Foundation. I was out there. We were like 9-something setting up before the tournament, so appreciate the partnership and how seriously you take it. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll echo those. That's echo those sentiments. And you are there doing a lot of things for us besides just helping us collect our taxes, which is important, right? Yeah. But those other things that are more in kind and supporting with scholarship monies, et cetera, we greatly appreciate. So thank you to Purdue, Brandon. We are good partners, I think. So,
yeah, it's an honor. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Welch, you're ready for the budget status.
While I'm bringing this up, I will echo the same comments. I do appreciate the way that Purdue Brandon works with our taxpayers and finds solutions. And they've been very good at that for the history I've known working with them. So appreciate that. All right. And then tonight we have a budget status update. Wanted to walk through a few things for you tonight. And first thing is, and as you can see here, we do have the 2024 budget status in front of you, but I'll just comment real quickly on the 2023-2024 year, just to let you know that we're continuing to close out and do the audit preparations under the 2023-2024 year, which is last year's budget. While we still have expense accruals coming in, and that's obviously impacting our total numbers, we do believe that we are tracking to hold our fund balance and likely increase the number of days of operations due to the end of year savings, and then also some recognition of some additional revenue at the end of the school year. This should soften the starting point for the 2024-2025 year fund balance and potentially reflecting the operation level coming forward. So, but without that change in the basic allotment at the state level, the district will remain operating in a material deficit. So the state must increase funding for school districts to continue to serve our student populations, no doubt.
Rob, is the report that was in the routine reports, was that pretty close to how you think it's going to come out? Was that
Pretty close.
So I know it's a month behind, but this is exactly through August.
Yeah, so there's, we will continue to be making adjustments to the final numbers in August as we close out the year, especially with accruals going back into August. And so we'll see that number move, but even at that, we do believe it will be a positive entry to fund balance by the time we get everything done.
Okay.
Just one note, we believe that, our original target was 82 days. It's possible we'll be up to 85 to 85.5 days, which will give additional cushion as we go into this next legislative session, and understanding it's possible that there won't be any additional funds coming in the spring. So that'll be helpful for the 25-26 budget.
So then as you look at the screen here, we do have the 2024-2025 budget status. And this is just a real general look at things to let you know that as far as those local inputs, the good news is that enrollment is tracking strong with our district expectations. As of our PEAM snapshot date, we are at 23,921 students, which is just shy of that 24,000 mark. And that's 541 students over where we were last year at the same time. So this is, however, just one indicator that we follow in predicting our revenue. The main driver for funding is the refined ADA number, which is impacted by our attendance rates. And currently our attendance levels and the attendance rates are tracking in line with our expectations as well. We know that as the year goes on, we start off high, those kind of trickle down, and so we try to project that impact. That's just part of dealing with flu season and other things that happen throughout later in the year. It's a little more volatile. So now, however, where we are seeing increases over budget levels would be in our program enrollment, specifically our bilingual and special program areas, and this is driving the need for additional staff and services within those areas. We do receive additional funding within those allocations, and with it comes some spending requirements that will be recognized as part of the proposed budget amendment that you'll see in the next report.
Welch, just this morning, we discussed also some teacher-student ratios in specific areas. We look at those regularly, and every Monday during our leadership team, we review any changes we need to make. And as of today, we have 2 positions that we're unfreezing in areas, a kindergarten, 1 elementary school. I think it was 3rd grade in another elementary. So we are looking at those regularly. We have those frozen positions, so it doesn't require us to come back to ask for additional FTEs. And so we're monitoring that very carefully. That is, of course, included in that expense, but also you have more students to help defray that to some degree as well. So we nearly see that offset. Really, the additional expense is going to be picked up in the high cost areas with special education programs and bilingual education, which also requires some additional staffing.
On the budget amendment, though, that he's going to go over, it's kind of shows those breaking even. So is that a true picture? Or do we have to come out and pocket a little more?
No, I think when it comes to more students, more staff, that's probably going to track pretty closely. You may, I'll just say, be unlucky in one area where you're a little bit over, and you may have more staffing expenses. But overall, over time, it'll be track. However, with special programs, we're looking at some high needs areas that's required some intensive staffing. That will not track. That will actually be a cost. And so that's something that we're struggling with. In some cases, the ADA doesn't go along with it. If you have students' attendance also being precarious, you paid for the staff, but that student may not be there every day. And so now you're not picking up the weighted average daily attendance to offset the expense. You wouldn't even break even if they were there, but you're more than, it's even worse if they're not. So that's been a struggle.
Yeah, that the overall program, the state only funds it to about 70-ish% of what the special programs requires.
One other note is that even beyond anything about basic allotment, all that, one conversation that is taking place on a positive is actually providing additional funding for special education programming to track with the acuity level of the students. And if we can track there, then we would be able to get much closer. So even if we were not able to be successful increasing the basic allotment, it's possible we'll get these other funds without the voucher trade-off. So that's a big conversation right now in Senate and House hearings. So.
Yeah, that's millions of dollars to districts. So that'd be a huge win across the state, both for the districts, but also for the students that they serve. So I'll move us on to a bond program financial summary here as requested at the last board meeting. We wanted to provide this, and this is showing that summary by our authorizations. And so here you can see the 2023 program split into the two authorizing propositions under that election. Proposition A being instructional facilities and district-wide capital replacements, and then Proposition B there being for technology and infrastructure. With that first issuance of $150 million that we did back in July, you can see that the remaining authorization is about $411 million combined between A and B there in the center column. We are in the early stages of that spending curve for the total projects, and then you see that with the spending versus spending to date versus the proceeds remaining there in the two final columns. 2017 was a one-prop program with all authorizations issued to date. So you'll notice that there are no remaining authorizations at this point. We will note that remaining projects here in a moment, but you can see that the cash balance of proceeds remaining to expand on these projects that are either completing, in progress, or up and coming there with the 38.7 million. And then the challenge is that the hyperinflation due to the pandemic has devalued those dollars there that you see are remaining, and it's made it difficult to meet the project projections that just only continue to increase. And so just as a note, if you look at that 38 million, if you applied those dollars back to pre-pandemic, they would accomplish probably in today's dollars $50 to $55 million worth of projects. And so obviously we dealt with the valuing of our dollars that were part of that program as inflation has continued. And so obviously we've worked ways to make up that gap and to bring the projects in still at the level and expectations that we want them. So, but it has made it a challenge to manage, especially the 2017 program. And then we also have the combined tracking of the 2006 and 2008 programs there. You can see with a small balance remaining that will roll into our other capital replacement needs. So. And as mentioned, 2017 program has several projects completing and in various stages of progress. Here we mentioned the Eagle Mountain High School there's post-occupancy closeouts to still to complete with that project. We have the partnership with YMCA where we have $5 million in dedicated funds from that program to combine and work with the YMCA to provide a swim center that the school district will have access to for our swim teams. Then we have standardization and equity projects that would include Saginaw High School's addition and renovations that would include the athletics portion of that project, and then ongoing safety and security projects. And as I mentioned before, no additional issuance is available under that authorization. So we have completed all issuances. Under the 2023 bond program, we again looking at 2-year intervals is how we are packaging that. And so in that first 2-year interval for the 2024-2025 year, currently obviously we have the Wayside Middle School replacement project still projected for opening August of 2025. We have
It's
safety-
actually an
I think
error.
that's
It
just, yeah.
should be December,
December, I am so
or
sorry.
January 2026, really.
Yes,
Opens
December.
January, that's what we're projecting, right? Open January
Open
2026.
January 2026.
Somebody pick Cleat up off the floor over there.
Yes, yes, please.
We've
Thank
got
you for
another
catching-
presentation that's coming with Hunter that, yeah, we'll,
Have a different date on that one?
Yeah, and we'll reemphasize that. Thank you for catching that. Thank you. Pulled that from an aging document, obviously.
And just one date, it may have been actually the year, because the projected opening of everything completely 100% complete with the fields, the tennis courts, everything will be August 2026. So
That is-
whatever the origination of the error is, we just want to make sure it's clear for everybody. We're not going to be
Absolutely.
ready in August 2025.
Thank you.
And the January date, just as we communicate, is the students and staff to the main building.
Yes.
And then, like you said, the auxiliary fields and tracks and parking and stuff like that would be the August completion of 26.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. Apologize for the misrepresentation there. So we will, we have other items within the current projects as well, which would be currently working on the design of the Saginaw High School additions renovations portion that's tied to the Scene Shop. That's part of the 2023 bond program happening at Saginaw High School. And then also the Dick and Heidi Elkins Agricultural Science Complex, which is also in motion on planning. So the second part of that, our second two-year interval is the 2026, 2027 year, where we will have, first project there is the Stephen G. Newcomb Middle School, projected opening in August of 2027. And then we also will have the Watson High School addition, as well as Elementary School 19, which is projected to begin work in 2027 on that project.
I think we need to confirm a date with Mr. Welch on the.
right, I can, yes, in my presentation later on, I got some updates, things.
So we'll
I'd like to
provide
share.
that there's some factors there that he'll go over, which includes property.
Okay.
If the stars align, which they're not going to align, it'd be August 27, but we have some property purchases potential. So anyway, sorry.
Thank you. And then if we want to quickly just look at, in line with those projected projects, the funding plan for the remaining 2023 authorization is about $100 million per year in each, or July of each year, and that will be our default schedule, but we may adjust that. That tends to be the best time of the year for going to the market, but we may adjust that. It may not be in July based on what may be happening that year. And then we also will monitor our property values each year. Now, there's some speculation as to where those were going to land now, and that would obviously impact our bond capacity each year. And so that will play a factor in what you see here as our proposed schedule. Again, about $100 million per year through the 2027, 2028 year.
Are we paying off some during those years? I don't have that in front of me, and I know you don't either, but do we also reduce
We do.
bond debt? Okay.
We do, and we will be continuing to look at that. Primarily, the variable rate debt is what we target, and we'll be looking to continue to pay some of that down when, in the years that we have availability to do that.
It's possible that we may remarket some bonds as well, depending on what happens, with the rates. But right now, they brought a couple of things to us to consider, but we've not seen anything that's really worth the effort at this point. So we're going to hold.
And so with that, that's our basic status update. And if
Any
there's
questions? Questions? Okay, sorry, Mr. Kittinger, we have a lot to cover in our executive session, so we are going to have to wait for your report at 7. Sorry. It is currently 5:54 p.m. on October 28, 2024. This board will now recess for dinner and then reconvene in a closed meeting pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Section 551.071 for the purpose of private consultation with the board's attorney. Section 551.072 for the purpose of deliberating on a purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551.074 for the purpose of deliberating the appointment, employment, reassignment duties, discipline of a public officer or employee. Section 551.076 for the purpose of deliberations regarding the deployment or specific occasions of implementation or security audits. 5510821 to discuss specific personal identifying information about a student. Saginaw Independent School District, the board is reconvening the public meeting on October 28, 2024 at 7:07 p.m. and will now consider the subject set forth in the posted agenda. So welcome, everyone. We're really glad to have everyone and very excited to have Elkins Elementary School here today to open our ceremony, have our opening ceremonies. So, yes, ma'am.
Hello, Dr. Chadwell, Dr. Colbert, members of the board. These are our wonderful students from Elkins Elementary. We have our 5th grader, Ashton Beasley. His parents are Jimmy and Stephanie Beasley. He's an ELK leader, and he has been involved in our spelling bee and book battles. We have our 4th grader, Miss Lila Scott. Her mom is Casey Newsome. She's involved in FFA, Battle of the Books, and she shows pigs in her free time. We have Zaylen Scott. He is our wonderful 3rd grader, and he loves golf camp and building things. There's that. And then we have Miss Emery Cortez. Her parents are Ronnie and Stephanie Cortez. She is in 2nd grade. She enjoys soccer and dance and is involved in the YMCA. We have our pre-K student, Mr. Paul Cortez. He is involved in YMCA, soccer, and baseball. And we have Miss Jadalise Tirado Enriquez. She's one of our 5th grade ELK leaders. And her dad is Jada Enriquez. And she is also in book battle, loves volleyball, and knitting.
Oh, very nice.
All right, you guys ready? All right, Jadalise, take it away.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice job. Very nice job. Sorry, everyone, but this is always my favorite part of our board meeting. So thank you. You guys did a great job. All right, we have a special recognition. Dr. Chadwell.
Yes, I'm honored tonight to recognize Representative Charlie Guerin for the I Carry the Torch Award. So I'll read a little bit about him, and then we want to do some photos. I've been very thankful for him to be my own representative before they redistricted, and then, of course, working with him for the last 14 years in my role. He's had dedicated service encompassing local, regional, and state levels. He and his family have been local fixtures in the Northwest Fort Worth area for generations and has taken an active role in a number of civic organizations and opportunities in his work to better our community. He's a business owner in Fort Worth. He's principal and founding partner of the commercial real estate firm Kelly, Guerin, and Searcy, and is listed in the Texas Realtors Association's Hall of Fame. He's also president of the LGS Godly Ranch, as well as Railhead Smokehouse, and is considered one of our area's foremost barbecue masters. So I enjoy the barbecue very much. He served on many elected boards and nonprofits in our community. He was even a deputy to the United States Marshal Service. Currently, he is a trustee of Texas Christian University, Go Frogs, and is president of the Southwestern Exposition and Livestock Show. He was elected to the Texas House of Representatives in November 2000. He was named twice by Texas Monthly Magazine as one of the top 10 Texas legislators and has been honored for his work to support local business owners. He's an advocate for public education, property rights, and water resources. And throughout his term, he's remained a tireless advocate for Northwest Tarrant County and the schools, districts, and families she serves. His roots in EMS-ISD go deep. Little history lesson for y'all. In fact, his grandfather was one of the original architects of Saginaw Elementary School. It's memorialized on a marker right outside of the building, so take an opportunity to see that. When I first saw it, I was looking at it, I said, Preston Guerin, oh my goodness. And then I sent him a text, I said, is that a relative? Because that's my grandfather. I thought that was pretty awesome. Currently, his most important job and the one he's most proud of right now is that of grandparent. I'm honored to have worked with him for the last 14 years. As I shared, he remains a tireless advocate for the 5.5 million children educated in public schools, no matter the political costs. And I want to stop there away from these notes just to say, Charlie's not afraid of anybody. And I'm thankful that you make every decision because you know it's the best. You do your research, you work hard, but you also never compromise your values, what you believe in, and you've unwavered on that for 14 years. And when you give your word, you keep your word. And there's not a lot of people in this world that always do both of those things. And so it's just been an honor to work with you and again, for you to represent our school district. He's not guided by the sway of the political winds, but rather by what is right for the citizens and especially the youngest citizens in our state, the next generation. So I'm honored to present the I Carry the Torch Award to Representative Charlie Guerin in appreciation of your decades of leadership and commitment and service to the students, educators, families, and Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD. Thank you.
It's really an honor, and I represent 9 school districts, and this is the best one. I got first elected, there were around 4,000 students here. Now, it's a huge district. We've seen, I guess, 3 high schools built since I've been a state rep. I don't know how many elementary and middle school, but this district is great. It's governed by, it's been a super board since I've been here, and I mean, Dick and I have been real good friends for a long time, and he was kind of my mentor on public ed stuff. And so Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD has been very important to me for my entire career, and I will stick with public schools until I'm done doing this.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Before we come down, are there any things the board members want to share at all?
I just want to echo Dr. Chadwell's sentiments. We appreciate you so much. And I talked to my constituents in other areas, and they do not have a champion for public school like you are. So we really do appreciate what you do for us, for the district, for the community, and for the most important people, our students. So thank you so much.
I'm just very blessed to have Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD in the district I represent.
Well, we're blessed to have you. So thank you.
All right, we're going to take some pictures with you.
All right. And Newcomb's been doing this almost as long as I have.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of things to give you. The first thing we're going to give you is that I Carry the Torch Award. And so this is, again, to you for recognition. We know you keep all of our football helmets in your office, so you have one more thing to add for the district. So,
I just added the latest one.
we also,
Yes. So our appreciation, you're a big advocate, not only for the police department, but the city of Fort Worth. When I was with them, I remember your commitment to public safety is just above reproach. So
Without the cops, we did a lot.
well, you're one of the good ones. So we really appreciate all your support.
I really do. Thank you.
Okay, we did not finish our reports from 5 o'clock, so Mr. Kittinger, thank you for your patience, and you are up to talk about budget amendments.
Good evening, President Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. I'm here to present the first budget amendment for the 24-25 school year. Now, we have already talked about a large portion of the budget changes related to special populations and the increased need for spending in those areas. And in the short term, we do believe that those are going to be offset by the special program allotments, revenues that are going to be coming in. That only leaves two areas, some insurance claims that are still going through for Prairie Vista Middle School related to replacement and repair of several RTUs. And the last section is related to rollover purchase orders, which are items that were purchased last fiscal year that are currently on back order, but still deemed necessary for this current fiscal year. And we have no changes to either the debt service for this time or child nutrition at this time. Are there any questions on any of the budget amendment items?
I just have one on the, Tim was just telling me what an RTU was, but at Prairie Vista Middle School, we're taking it out of, we're gonna have revenue coming in from insurance, it's $250,000, so is it covered by the insurance?
Yes, sir. At this time, we believe the claims are going to be covered. It's really stuff that happened from the last big freeze that we had. And right now with I guess we have two of the three quotes that we needed to do the repairs and replacements, and that's about the ballpark of where we're all falling.
Okay, so it's gonna just kind of, everything's washing through, including what we talked about earlier, Jim, was some of the special ed additions we were making, but it looks like to me in this amended budget, we're offsetting in the revenue and expenses exactly.
Yes, sir.
And the only other thing is that 349,000, and that's out of that number 3, which was supplies, category 3, which was rollover purchase orders.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the whole, all right, got it, thanks.
Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you so much, Mr. Kittinger. Thank you again for waiting. Okay, our next report is a purchasing policy update. Ms. Shaw. And Mr. Welch, I guess.
I'm just going to.
Oh, okay.
Load this.
Good evening, President Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, and members of the board. I'm excited to talk to you tonight about our purchasing policy update, and we'll bring it back to you next month for action. So first, I want to go over just a quick year in review. Last year, we processed 7,176 purchase orders. We have our multiple award contracts that stay open year-round, and we currently have 13 bid categories ranging from instructional, maintenance, and now safety and security. And we added 379 new vendors through that last year. And then our CSPs and RFP formal bids, we did 29 of those last year, and most of those were for Eagle Mountain High School. And then we are a member of 23 different purchasing cooperatives. So tonight we want to talk to you about our purchasing policy NCH local. And we currently have thresholds set at board approval of any single budgeted purchase of goods or services at $100,000 and up. And we report any purchase of a board-approved interlocal agreement, state purchasing program, or continuing board-approved bid or contract in lieu of prior board approval at $100,000 and up. And our superintendent's emergency purchasing authority is any purchase up to $250,000. So we're recommending some proposed revisions to that policy. And the board approval threshold we're recommending is changing it from $100,000 to $200,000. We are recommending changing the board report threshold from $100,000 to $200,000, and then the superintendent's emergency purchasing authority from up to $250,000 to up to $500,000. So with these policy changes would also mean some procedure changes for our purchasing levels and requirements. And some of those requirements that will change are the number of required quotes and the number of times a due diligence report is needed to help streamline the processes for our users and our vendors. And I'm going to show you what our current thresholds are at. So currently we have a threshold chart And you'll notice federal funds is at the top of that chart right now. So we are proposing moving that down to the bottom because currently people see it and they immediately think they need to get 3 quotes for any purchase. And then you have a copy of what we're proposing to change. So again, we moved that federal funds down because it only impacts a handful of departments. And then our new proposed changes I'll go over with you. So currently, you're required to only have 1 quote for any purchase up to $19,999, and we're proposing to change that to any purchase up to $49,999. And right now, a due diligence report and a single quote is required for any purchase starting at $20,000 all the way up to $49,999. And we're proposing changing that from any purchase at $50,000 to $999,000 now. But we'll still leave the discretion to our budget managers to request additional quotes and verify the market as needed. And then per the state purchasing law, formal bids are required for purchases above $50,000 unless competitive procurement is satisfied through a purchasing cooperative such as Buy Board or TIPS. And currently our purchases between $100,000 to $199,000 already require 3 quotes, and they still would, but we'd no longer have to take it to the board for approval. And then we aren't proposing any changes to our federal funding requirements because those are outlined by the Department of Education. So the benefits of this change of policy and procedures would be we'd still be meeting the legal requirements for competitive procurement. We're just trying to make the process more effective and efficient for our users. It'll adjust for the impact of inflation on costs. It'll help streamline the process for our users and vendors, and it'll reduce the vendors having to complete the Texas 1295 conflict of interested parties anytime something is approved by the board. And then it'll allow for better management of our vendor relations to keep participation high and quotes competitive. So again, we'll bring this to you next month for approval, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions?
Got a comment. When I got elected 9 years ago, one of the things I ran on was to try to, because I was in the district, I was an employee for 10 years. And one of the issues we had, in my opinion, was purchasing. It was very difficult, very hard. It made it very difficult, and therefore it wasn't very advantageous for the district. It cost the district money, in my opinion. It only took 9 years, but I think what you've come up with here is what I've been pushing for since I wanted that even when I was the athletic director. But I think what we have always got to be is we have to follow state guidelines. And I think if we follow state guidelines like you've proposed, it makes everything legal, and it also makes things easier for the people in our district, whether you're a principal, whether you're in the maintenance department or a custodian or a coach or whomever it is. It just makes the purchasing process smoother. That's why we have purchasing co-ops in the state of Texas, is to make school districts' jobs easier. They do a lot of the legwork for us. It saves us a lot of money when we don't have to spend hundreds of hours doing the jobs that have already been done for us. And by upping the limits and following the state laws like that, I just think that that's going to put our district in a lot better place. It allows people like Cleat and whomever else, Hunter, and those people to do things in a timely manner, because sometimes a timely manner depends on savings for the school district. And then I think letting the superintendents have the authority to go up to $500,000. I think we hire people in all of our positions that we respect, and we expect them to do what's best for Eagle Mountain Saginaw. They know better than we do. And so I think this is just allowing the people in our district to do their job and do it efficiently. And I personally appreciate you and your department and Rob's help to bring this to us in this fashion. I think it's awesome.
Great. questions, comments?
Not after that.
No. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, that concludes finance reports. Operations, Mr. Welch, construction updates.
Okay, we'll start off with Eagle Mountain High School. And so the projects that we had mentioned that we need to finish up with the discus rings. And so we've moved those off the site over there in the northeast corner, and it'll be further down. And so we're going to start, they started doing some of the landscaping and grading that out and make sure it drains properly. So that's ongoing. They've cleared the back road for the student entrance. So that's under progress. So, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time, and hopefully we'll miss the rain. I think we're going to get it, but that will be depending on how quickly we can finish that. So, and we continue to do the punch items and meet on that very regularly every week.
What are we still holding of their money? Are we holding a retainage of their money or?
Yes, so the money that you saw from earlier in the presentation was like $38 million.
Right.
Well, there's roughly $15 million of that, 38 are retainage.
Okay.
So between that, the natatorium, and the Saginaw Athletics, there's 30 of that
Right.
38.
Okay.
Any other questions on Eagle Mountain High School?
So the rings are what we're moving in that area, right? Those runways are where they were.
Yeah, the runways are staying.
It was just a safety thing, I guess. We're looking at trajectory of things and.
Well, to me, it was the slope.
Okay.
You know, just you're either pitching from coming like on a mound.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be throwing it uphill.
Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
eventually it was just going to be, they wouldn't like it. So we
Yeah.
put it on a more level
Okay.
place, and we have more room down there. So that
Let's
was
have
the
them-
thought process.
let's have them throw it off a hill and set some records.
We could, depending on which direction the wind's going. So, yeah, that'd have been a north wind, so that might have been a challenge too, but yeah. Next, we move to Wayside, and so what I tried to do from the aerial, this is looking north to south, is just kind of label some of the areas instead of saying A, B, C, D, E, F. And so we'll start at the north, and that's where we've progressed the most. And you see the storm shelter, and also you see the competition gym. Those are our two gym areas. So that's where a lot of it started with the piers. The slabs have been poured there, and it's just progressing to the south in different phases. And so the underground work on the plumbing, the electrical, that's in the middle of the building now, and it's just moving toward the south. So that's really what's going on now. If you drive by on the far south side, you will see the two machines that are drilling for the geothermal. So they've started that process, and they'll just work their way around from the south side to the east side of the campus.
Clete, is the storm shelter not the gym?
It's the gym, yes. It's
Okay.
what I call the secondary gym.
Okay, got it.
So the reason we kind of really put storm shelter, that's more labor intensive. So they go ahead and get ahead of that. So, but really in the end, that's your second gym. But they have the slabs. So really those slabs have been poured. But so this month, what I would call October, that is really where you're finishing the piers and you're putting the grade beams. So you'll see pictures of that. When you get to November, you'll see more slabs being completed. Then you get to December, then you start to see the ICF foam and you see some CMU block going up. Then in January, you start seeing the steel going for the roof. That's kind of the process, again, starting from the north, moving to the south. Kind of a look ahead on that project. So, any questions on Wayside?
So are we still thinking January 2026?
Yes.
Okay. For the main building?
Yes, for the main building. So I forgot, I have some other pictures here. This is just a southern view looking to the north. And on the far right, you can see the long jump pits, pole vault. And then you'll see a little dirt work that went on, and then you see a pier being drilled. And the last picture I have is just grade beams. That's when we talk about that, that's generally what you would see. A lot of steel, a lot of concrete get poured in those areas, and that supports your walls for the building, the load-bearing part of it. Some other project updates, the Dick and Heidi Elkins Agricultural Science Complex. So it is in schematic design and the development continues. We are continuing to actually finish that today. This afternoon, we went to another facility in a nearby district just to look at that. So it's really not much the outside we're looking at, but we're seeing how the different people with the animals they have, how they function and how they move them in and out of the building so that we can get what we feel like is best for us. Because most people say, well, I wish we would have done this when they started using it. So we've tried to exercise that and figure out exactly what we would want. So we continue to work on that. The YMCA facility. So the Y has hired a group to manage this project. And so it's completed its schematic design. They have the documents. They're in design development. We have a meeting with them on November the 4th just to go over some of our little areas, such as the dressing room, and make sure we're on the same page. The Dynadome it's been put out to purchase, and it's been designed obviously so to get that in when they need it. And I believe they have it on the street for a CMAR, and they're in the middle of November. They will name a CMAR to manage that project. So it's moving right along and still kind of projected for the spring, somewhere in there, depending on the weather.
Did they have their own design team or did they hire an architect?
Yes.
An architect. It's Hanfeld out of Fort Worth. Mhm. Now, we have had input in the whole design. I mean, we've signed off on the design on all the specifics of our locker room and pool area and all that. So we've had the first right of refusal of everything. So we're pleased with, I mean, we're in agreement with the design, but the actual architect will be Hanfeld.
And the CMA, are we going to have will we have any input on that necessarily?
Not necessarily. I mean, we probably would have a right of refusal, but it is, I mean, it's their project to manage. But if they were going to work with a group that we weren't comfortable with, we would have the ability to say, we'd like you to go back out, find somebody else.
You said in the spring, as in spring to get started, moving dirt, kind of, did they indicate what and you may have probably said it before, timeline? I mean, it's pretty quick for the first phase, isn't it?
Yes.
To get that done, which is basically the pool and locker rooms and stuff, and then they'll build their other facilities around
it.
Yeah,
you got to get your parking lot in and gymnasium. And so, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's around 12 months.
Yeah, I figured it'd be around a year. So when do we, is it upfront that we do give them our $5 million for it? Or is that?
I would say that's what we do, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Because they'll have to start paying bills right away with that pool.
Yeah, okay.
And we really, it's really kind of immaterial to us which area they spend the $5 million on.
Right.
Because in the end, we still have the same agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll, like you said, they probably, for cash flow, they'll probably want it sooner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd be more concerned about the operational agreement with them.
Of the
running. Mm-hmm.
Yes. There's discussions on that right now. We have all the outlines of what we've agreed upon in terms of times and everything, but that'll be forthcoming.
Okay.
Okay, some other things that I'd like to bring to your attention is, it was kind of mentioned earlier about some timelines and what we're facing with the bond. So we have 3 major projects that we need to still build. That is the middle school, the new elementary, and Saginaw Elementary. And currently, our plan was to do middle school, elementary 19, then Saginaw Elementary. However, the problem with building up north is the infrastructure, which means that's your water and your sewer. And just like we struggled getting that with the high school, we are going to struggle with that middle school up there. So currently, water is king, or lack of. And Northwest ISD is facing the same dilemma because they have some schools and property in Fort Worth which provide water. So that area actually across the street from our high school, that's a different water plane. That's Northside 4. And there's just not enough water up north. So the city of Fort Worth is having to utilize where we are currently here in Northside 3 to help keep that moving down the road until they can complete a 54-inch water line that comes from the Eagle Mountain plant over there by Dozier Elementary, and it will go north and fill in so the north side 4 can have enough water to make it till that's completed. So obviously the middle school is going to drain. The valves are going to be a very large deal. The city would work with us. Really the issue becomes it's not in the city of Fort Worth. It is in the ETJ. So that's going to be a challenge to start that when we would want to at the current property we're looking at. And so I think what we need to do is once we get Bob's numbers here in the next month, we look at those because we need to be building. I think what we're going to have to probably do is just invert that. And we start with the elementaries in that process because we feel like we can, conversations with the city. We have that elementary 19, which would be in Northside 3, but I feel like they would work with us and we could start that one. Or we could start Saginaw Elementary. But we can't, in my mind, wait because you've got the inflation hitting you. So we need to get some of these projects going so we can offset that. And the other projects that we have would be the Watson, which is a small addition of 4 classrooms. We need to make sure we get those done. So we've tried to push some things that are low hanging fruit and get those done because we need to be able to get those in the books and make sure the inflation doesn't hit those projects.
If we started Saginaw Elementary first, I know we've talked about having to move the kids, but would that not be, because I know inflation is going to start hitting, would that not be advantageous for us to start Saginaw Elementary first, but while we still have room at Hatley Elementary and somewhere else to offset those kids? If we wait too long, Hatley's going to be full.
True.
And there's not going to be anywhere to move the Saginaw Elementary kids for 18 months to get the school built.
Right.
I mean, so what you were saying on inverting that for the inflation part, but that would also play a role that we'd also have a place to put the kids if we started it earlier. Is that right or wrong?
That would be an option we'd have. And hopefully another option we have, depending on looking at the numbers, we may want to start both those. Because Saginaw Elementary is going to take longer to design. I mean, right now, we've got a prototype with our last elementary 18. We've got a middle school prototype. But now we're going to be on 8 acres, and we're going to have to start from scratch. So that'll take a little longer just to design that.
I know VLK's done, or is VLK not already working on a design for Saginaw Elementary? Or have we not even approved something like that?
We've not approved for that project. I think we've got the 3 schools that I mentioned, then Saginaw Elementary, we need to name an architect of record. Watson, those 4 classrooms in a hallway, whatever. And that's really what's left in that bond.
With your permission, I mean, we could bring an architect of record at the next meeting just so we have them on the books and we start working on it. There have been preliminary conversations. Both Lauren Brown from VLK and Clayton and I have been through that entire building and underneath that building to get a sense of what we would want to save, what we'd want to. We did that as part of the long-range facility planning and the bond planning. So while we're not far along in the design, we're far along in terms of what our limitations are and what we'll have to do. So it'll be a unique design. And part of our promise to the community is we would take into consideration the WPA portion, at least in concept, that it wouldn't look like a prototype building. It'd look unique to that space. But if, with y'all's permission, we can bring that for consideration, they name architects of record on those projects.
Sounds like to me the sooner we get that approved, the sooner, because that's going to all be pretty sensitive when it's ready to take off, it seems like to me.
Yeah, and we've kind of paused on it. I know it feels like it, what he said with the water has been really the issue. There was a hopefulness that we'd be able to do it in the order that we originally thought, but the reality setting in that we're not going to get there in terms of the water availability in that northern part of the district. And as he said, we've got to move forward. So fortunately, we have the flexibility of inverting it and doing that. What you're talking about in terms of availability at Hatley, this possibility, and the reality is we will have to use multiple schools to facilitate Saginaw Elementary.
And it may even move them to, if they stay there for 1 year, then they may move to elementary 19. If
Yeah.
at least, depending on how that flushes out, we just have to see the numbers and make the best decision with what we have there. But getting Bob's numbers, I mean, that'll be a challenge, but there's always going to be a challenge with that project, because it's going to be at least 1.5 years for that small site and having to abate that and reconstruct it. But I think our challenge we need to look with our numbers is that we're going to look at our middle schools that we've talked about probably the last 4 years of start to move. We're going to have to progress them into their feeder pattern and balance those out so we can get to Newcomb Middle School.
The plan is to have 2 middle schools per high school, right? So you've got another one following 7. We've got 8. I know it may not be in the bond yet, but the long range plan would be to have 2 middle schools for each high school, right?
That's correct.
So can the current middle school, 6 middle schools support 4 high schools? I guess you're talking about looking at Bob's numbers, but is that one of the things?
That would be the plan that we could, because really we're going to move not everybody. We're going to move certain groups that are zoned for those high schools. We would move them in there, and Highland's got the lowest numbers of enrollment, and Highland's numbers would go into Saginaw High School. So that middle school 8's down the road when you're probably looking at that one. But then you pull Prairie Vista over to Highland for those kids that are in the Saginaw zone, and just keep working the Wayside to the Prairie Vista, and then see. Okay, then I think there needs to be a balance. So it may not be completely where we want it, but if it buys us another year to get to reopen it, we just have to look at that fine detail with the data that we have. So there might be a housing condition that we say, yeah, you're eventually going there, but it's not time to move you.
Okay. The more we do that, the more I guess it affects the choir, band, athletics, because they're going to be jumping around between they might.
Well, if okay, let's just say we did them in the spring, then they would start whenever we want to. They would be in their plan 1, they'd be in their feeder pattern. But there might be one group that we need to wait, and they stay at where they're existing at because or we'll have to find a different place to put them.
Okay.
I think that's our challenge, our balance.
And Wayside's our highest numbers right now. Wayside, Highland on one end, Wayside on the other.
Right.
And just a reminder, the new school will have a capacity higher of 200. So right now, Wayside current's 1,003. This will be 1,200.
Yep.
So a little bit larger, but not enough to keep up with the concerns, obviously.
Yeah. Hopefully we can keep it at that for that time period. That would be what we'd like to happen, so that we could go to the pure feeders right away.
Quickly, back to this water situation, just to clarify. It's not necessarily a piping issue. If they don't have the volume, what will fix this in 1.5 years, or what will make it right? Just to understand.
What will make it correct is the city needs to increase the water amount in the northern part of the city. For them to get to the point of right now, we don't have a firm date when we think they'll be finished. They've told us a date. Now, once we get that finalized, then we can say, okay, we can start about 6 months before that, because we can find a different water source, kind of like we did at the high school, and try to work that out. But that 54-inch line needs to get to those areas up there at the 5 points, where you got those water towers. Somehow it's got to get up there through Eaton High School and get the water pressure in that area. Then the water line, the 16-inch water line or whatever, then will come from there down 287 going south, then to middle school 7.
Okay.
So there's 2 different things that have to happen. And the second one's the developer. So they've got to figure their water source out and the sewer, because they want to use the city of Fort Worth, which we want them to use, because we don't want to be in those business of having wells for drinking water and a sewage plant.
Okay.
When do you think they'll annex the ETJ or the?
Well, I think if they have if they commit to having water, it's say in 2028, then we would start in 27 and just figure out how we'd work up to that point so that it would not hurt the construction component. I mean, it's difficult, but it's doable. And then we just build our schedule based on that.
You said commit to having water in 2028. In your experience, when they give you a date like, or year like that, you pretty comfortable that it's going to be where you need it, when you need it?
Right now, I don't feel comfortable with that because they really haven't, I have not seen a plan that they presented to the public. Because a month ago, they had not even completed the design. So it's got to snake through and they've got to get easements.
Complex areas they're gonna have to
Yes,
get through to get up there and back.
yes.
I mean, from my understanding, that was one of the things that was slowing down some of those developers from coming in there and building, as they went, oh,
Yes.
same
That's another-
thing we're dealing with right now. Developers, seems, as I've heard and had conversations, is that they're going, well, we don't want to necessarily foot the bill for this, but when it gets there, then we'll plug in and do our thing.
There's no way we can keep the middle school where it was originally, or we're gonna put it by the high school. That would solve that problem, right?
That would solve one problem. We would have to make sure that they would accept it. We could do that. We'd have to put in all the infrastructure ourselves. We'd have to go through the park department because the road will go through a park, so they'll have their own things that, that they needed, that we'd have to do. So that would be a challenge.
Yeah, is that something we'll even look at or not? I mean, I don't know,
It might save 6 months, 8 months. And then we're dealing then with, we front loaded all that road that needs to be reimbursed when the developer comes in. So that'll be another, something to deal with.
The biggest risk there is not just the payback when they come in, but when they come in. So we've seen that, you'll have a lot of development and it just kind of stops for a while. So it may be 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road until the district recoups that. It is a great site in terms of, it's an attractive site. It's just when we purchased it, the growth in that area was a little bit faster and it was the best site that was available in that immediate area. And so there's nothing wrong with the site other than the infrastructure front loading.
Is the land right across from the high school, northwest ISP?
Yes, it is.
The one that they wouldn't trade us?
The one they won't trade.
Yep.
Yes.
Makes no sense.
Yep. Now, the question Mr. Franklin asked, I just want to rephrase it. Were you asking if they do put it in writing and present a plan to the public, how much can you trust that plan? Is that?
Yes, sir.
So if they.
I think we could trust that one, especially when we get ready to pull that, come to the board with that and ready to move, that we would feel like they're getting close. I think that's,
Because you will have seen a plan by
yeah,
then.
well, we would see the pipeline about to be finished. I mean, they'd be 6 months, but, and so that means they've done 3/4 of it, 80% of it. So that's where I think we would get our comfort level.
So then if we did that potential site farther north, then we would, I guess, just see at that time if we needed to keep the one that we had by the high school or sell that.
Yeah, the idea is if we did purchase the additional site, and part of that off of Peden was just accessibility, decreased traffic in that area and not having the conflict between the middle school and high school, just farther away. But that land in that location by Peden is obviously, it's a big question mark how quickly that develops. If we could use the other property, it's a question of the development right around it. So we've looked at both. We originally, we weren't even looking northward until developer in that area talked to us about that and working within that. We thought, well, that's better just from the traffic perspective. There's also a bond coming up in Fort Worth in 2026. And so it would be interesting to see if Fleming Ranch is part of that. One of the challenges in Fort Worth is that it has been developer dependent. So there's a problem there, right? And that's why you get checkerboards, is if you depend on developers for main infrastructure, then you don't ever finish a road. You're just in constant. So from, Marine Creek to Bose to Bailey Boswell to Old Decatur, what's the common thing? It was developer driven. That's why we had the problems. And so I don't see that changing unless the philosophy in the city changed to front load Fleming Ranch. So Fleming Ranch could be 4 years or 2 bonds from now. It just depends. But it really needs for that connectivity needs to come in, obviously, because of the pressure on Boat Club that's going to increase.
Right, and then the developers that are trying to buy that, when they look at bridges and not enough homes to recoup their costs, you know, it kind of gets real slow on that.
Yeah. And I didn't fully answer your question, Mr. Mabry, on that property. We know we can sell that property. That property will be valuable. That's why we're not really stressed the fact that we buy another middle school site. What will we do with this? We'll sell it because it's going to be valuable future residential property. So either way, and it's also right next to the park. So you have the high school, then you have the Fort Worth Park, and then you have the middle school. It just kind of goes in order. Then Fleming Ranch runs across the east boundary. Yeah.
So at some point, to what Dr. Chadwell, I think, because you've got two sites up there, one's a middle school, one's an elementary. If we only need one more elementary, then you just look at the map and say which one makes, where are the kids, rest of the kids located, and which one's closest, then you could take 20 acres or 16 acres of that 35, you could sell the rest, and you could sell the other side or something with that combination.
How much do we need for middle versus an elementary?
Oh, middle school up there where it's hilly, so we're looking, you know, I think we got 36, 35 acres. You know, you need a little more when you got the hills. Makes it tougher.
Evidently, you only need 8 for an elementary.
Yes.
Isn't that how much Saginaw is, 8? So when you get Bob's number, can we kind of then revisit the whole thing about where the, all eight middle schools will be and where all the elementaries would be, just in general?
Right.
Okay.
It's really the biggest challenge. I mean, we have these school sites, but I'm gonna get into this next report. I mean, we are climbing that apex of fast growth. We're getting close to the top. Once these 3 schools are done, on that next bond, we're going to look at it very close, because it, you know, if it's slowing down, and then we're going to start, you know, on the other end of that apex. So there might be one elementary, or there may be a decision to go, we got some older elementaries, we may do those. And so that's what fast growth districts go through.
And the other factor in that, I'll say we're on the fortunate side of that, is that we have 550 additional kids. But if you didn't have some of the changes in the state right now, particularly with the growth of homeschool and competition with charter schools, that number may be higher. But it's masqueraded a little bit in the fast growth district because you're able to just absorb that, but you're also able to adjust your construction cycle, right? You can just reduce the number of schools that you are going to build, and you can reduce the how swiftly you build them. So we're able to maintain that. Whereas if you're in some districts, there's districts in Dallas, or the northern Dallas area, they're actually having to close schools that they only built not that long ago. So we'll, pardon me, we'll be on the front side of that. So we have to be conscientious of that. If vouchers pass, for example, or if you see future growth of charter schools in this area. So all those things are factors. The fact that the charter schools are on the periphery along more high traffic areas, which is where they typically build, versus in the middle of, you know, Bonds Ranch or something like that, that puts us in a little bit better position.
They wouldn't have any water. So.
They wouldn't have any water. Yeah.
There you go.
So I think it's, I don't know, it makes me sad when I see districts that just built schools 20 years ago that are having to close them. And talk about, you know, waste of resources. I mean, they can't help it. I mean, they've had a reduction in student enrollment, and that's the cost. I mean, when people talk about that this is competition and this will do this or that, it also costs more, right? It costs more, and this is the cost. Buildings that have been built for millions and millions of dollars not being utilized for the purpose that they were originally designed. And that's something that fortunately we can avoid if we're really conscientious during this cycle, during this process.
All right, thank you, Clete. Any other questions about that? So you're still up for long-range facility planning update?
Okay.
This is a short report.
Oh, okay, so a year ago, the board approved our long-range facility plan, and at that time I mentioned we would come back and review it every year. As far as what I want to look at is the maintenance, things that are at the end of life cycle. So our current bond program runs through 2029. At some point in 3030, we're going to start accumulating things. So I give an example. I'm not going to mention their name, but there's a fastest growing district in the last 20 years. They're running a bond and there's not a school in it for growth. There's one remodel and the rest of it is end of maintenance, and it's over $1 billion bond. So it's really, the goal of this is to just show you that we're okay right now, but in the future, you know, 30/30, this is how much we're looking potentially at it costing. Then the following year, we come back and just review it, it's 30/31 and 30. And so that way you have an idea, is a big picture of what our needs will be. So there's 30 pages in this, and I'm not going to go through every one of them. So I just want to hit the highlights. And the reason we, you know, you need to see how we're tracking it. So I want y'all to see that.
If you can just go over the colors, like you highlighted some in yellow. You explained the red, blue, and green, but.
Well, sometimes like red, you would have it where you're at the end of, like a roof could be end of cycle, but you go there and you see our roof specialists out there and they say you got 5 more years. So then we would say that we're just monitoring it. Even though it may be in a bond, you know, it's a catch-22, but we're just monitoring, we're looking at it. You know, it's general life cycle. And the blue would be, that would be things like that are in our 23 bond that we're doing. And the green was the 23 bond. These are the things in that 6-year span from 2024 to 2023 to 2029. But really what I want y'all to really look at is the yellow. And so, and the first one we have is the mechanical geothermal replacement. And really, I mean, as far as where we're at, we're in a good spot because we've done almost 19 of the 33 facilities. But there's going to be, you know, you wanted to do more, but you know, you look at the community threshold of what a bond can be, you know, there was probably $30 million of maintenance end of stuff that I wished we could have put in there, but you know, we had to decide not to do it. So that's where some of these are pushing a little over 20 years. And so if you see that, that's the reason, because the spread should be 20. But there's Eagle Mountain Elementary, that's the geothermal. And really what you're looking at is the meat of the cost of what I'll give you at the end of the day, what the number is. And you have all the schools from 2007, 2008, 2009, and those are in yellow. Those are the ones, we've got the maintenance facility. And actually Sarah Hollenstein should be on there also. That should be a yellow. So you got about 7 geothermal things that we would probably look at as expenses that we would need. And just in those 7 things, you know, that's $25 to $30 million.
You're saying the yellows are things that
Yes.
that are coming up that are not in a bond,
That's
are not, okay, gotcha, thank you.
And then, and this part of it, we just put them by years, chronicle. It's just easier, seems to keep track of it for us. We can always sort it any different way, but, and you have, well, here's another good one. Here's the roof. You know, roofs have that 20 or 25, you know, you got the build-up roofs, you got the white roofs, and then you've got metal roofs. So you got all different types of roofs with different expected lifespans. And then you've got a school like Boswell that was built. Chisholm Trail's easy. It was built up, everything the same. They just got one date. Boswell, different buildings, different time periods, different roofs, different HVAC systems. So anytime you have a need, Boswell's always going to be different. You know, Saginaw, it's got 3 portions to it. It's not as bad. Eagle Mountain's same as Chisholm. But you get the Eagle Mountain Elementary, all these buildings, they were built at different times, different roofs. Anyway, so that's where just the numbers, you have to kind of watch them. And what I'm just glancing at this, really we don't have a big deal in 2030, but if you look down to the future, those roofs are going to add up there, depending on how far you know, 5 to 6 years, whichever you look out after. And we put Wayside Middle School on there, so just make sure you see that one. But it's designed, it's way out from 2025 to 2055 on that single fund. Okay, chiller. So that really should be, that's the time period when we were building a different HVAC system. So we've done a really good job of replacing all those units. And we went to geothermal at some point, and you can see when we stopped doing it right after Greenfield, it looks like. But we had to maintain those. So we're looking in pretty good shape there. Floor replacements, we've done a good job keeping up with that. And I'm just going to go. The wood floors, and these are where you get these big numbers way out because of their life. I mean, they have a longer life expectancy as long as they don't get water on them and any type of climate change or moisture change in the gym areas. Okay, so this was a new thing we started tracking, just the elementaries. You've got a 20-year product in there, but if some of them will make it 20 years, some of them don't, depends on how many times the kids get on it, how many YMCA programs, and just the wear and tear. But we are tracking that so we just don't get caught in it. We're looking at that. Turf field replacements. So we're going to have some of those coming up. That's going to be a bigger ticket item because we've had on those. I mean, 2030, we're going to have some that we needed at the competition fields, different proposition. And then we got to really watch the middle schools because I really think I think you can get a longer time than 10 years off those. So that's just something I would say that's the monitoring part of it because the new product we're using in other districts is lasting longer than the 10-year, what I call AstroTurf. So the way it's coiled, the Helix is just lasting longer. So but that's something we need to watch.
Well, they're so new, they don't really know, right?
Well, I think it's when I talked to Randy and they've had them out for 14 years. So they've had some of them on competition fields that have lasted 14 years. So they don't glass up. It's just because they start laying down. If you look at the ones that got, went past 10 years, they were, and Chisholm was really laying down. You could see the sheen on it. So they've had some success, but I guess we'll just have to look and see how ours do.
We do have a pretty strong preventive maintenance program on that. We have one of our athletic maintenance staff that he's on a tractor every day because you have to drag them and pull up the fibers that you're describing so they're not pressed down and not pulls up also all the geofill and the ectotherm and all that.
Yes, it has the pad underneath it. All ours have pads underneath them, so not everybody does. So that helps it also extend its life.
And I think the E-layer, the pad underneath, obviously, since I'm involved in some of that kind of stuff, that does extend the life expectancy of the turf fields, but just the general maintenance that we do. Whether it's the turf fields where they groom them or whether it's the refinishing of the gym floors or taking care of the tennis courts, just our maintenance that we do puts us in a lot better shape than a lot of other districts because whatever the max life is, I really feel like our district gets that plus some on most of the stuff we do, be it RTUs or whatever it is. We do such a good job of preventative maintenance on that stuff. And that's y'all can pat everybody on the back for that, but but time is going to come to pay the piper at some juncture. Yes. But whatever that is, I think the people in our community need to know that we are getting more years than anybody else is getting out of whatever it is of all this replacement stuff. So, and I think that's kudos to our district and you and the people running it. I think
it's getting used too. I mean, you drive by, it's getting used obviously by the kids in those school programs, but you drive, if you were to driven up by Chisholm Trail on Saturday or Sunday, and you're going to see baseball, softball, and football. It's all being used by other community sports and organizations, which is part of our mission. Develop kids and connect the community.
I had a question. I know you talked about the gym floors, but it seems like we went back, and you did explain the difference on the gym floor replacements on page 89 and 90 of our packet. The plot the Plastic and the Terraflex, right? Seemed like we went back and forth. You could tell by the year we built it, kind of maybe the architect or the builder were using, and they kind of went back and forth between the two. So what's there's not a district standard there, I guess?
We do now.
Okay.
We do now. We've moved to a different product. The other product was bubbling up. So we're using the Terraflex.
We Terraflex at the last three, Copper Creek, Lake Country, and Hatley.
So anytime we have to put one in, right now, that's our best product.
Is it Terraflex?
Yes. So it's more of a pad that goes down versus a canister that's liquid plastic. You just roll out where it's rubber and they squeegee it. That's what the other one is, but it would bubble up if it got moisture in it. So we feel this is a better product that we've moved to.
That's what happened to Eagle Mountain, right?
Eagle Mountain faced that, Gilliland faced that. Bryson did too. So that was just not anyway, we've moved to a different product.
And it lasts a little longer, right? Terraflex, yeah, 30 years, okay.
So, anything else on this, Mr. Newcomb?
Let me look. Don't think so, hold on.
We did add our playgrounds since we're transitioning to the turf, so we put those on there and we'll just monitor those. And we'll finish that up this coming up. Well, Hunter's got a report behind me, but yeah, we'll continue with those.
I know she added wrestling mats also.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where if you don't put them down, you know, it ends up, I don't know, you got to find the money. So just start tracking those. Sometimes they use them, sometimes they tear up, so we just start tracking them.
So is there anything on the gymnastics? Since we have 4 different gymnastics facilities, is there anything that requires, or the dance and cheer gyms or facilities?
Okay, the dance chair would be like if we just had to resand it, light sand it, or we come back and put new, the sealer on it. And so we really haven't had to, I don't believe we've had to sand one down, maybe balls if it got moisture in it. So they're really pretty low maintenance on that part of it. The foam blocks in the gymnastics, you know, they get old, but the equipment, I don't know that we've replaced much gymnastic equipment. It may be something that needs to be tracked, but we haven't really done that yet.
The only note I had on the, what is it, Big 94 on the marquees?
Yes.
Just the note there at the bottom, just saying that most of them are more than 10 years old and technology is proprietary, obsolete. You know, that doesn't seem very bright future, you know, as far as those. It's just not a good situation.
Anytime electronics in our secondary, we're going to, every 10 years, we're going to have to replace them.
Yeah.
And we have not put a replacement cycle on those. We just kind of keep going or repaint them.
Yeah.
Find parts. So that's just something that we said, okay, that's an issue we have to maintain. So we need to start tracking at least what's going on there.
So it's just kind of the assumption that it's going to need to be every 10 years replacement.
Yes. So anyway, it was just to give you all an idea of those expenses. So it's anywhere from 25 to 30 million in the future for 1 year, and we'll come back next year and just kind of revise it and kind of look at it to keep you informed about it.
Thank you, Cleese. Very informative, very helpful. And I echo what Tim said. I mean, our maintenance and your department,
Well, there's a lot of people
a lot of people do a lot of great work for the district, make it look fabulous. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Welch? All right, then Mr. Lee is here to give us an update on bond projects.
Good evening, President Tolbert, members of the board, Dr. Chadwell. I'm excited to present to you a bond progress update. Tonight we will go over what's left in the 2017 bond, as well as what we will be touching on in the 2023 bond as well. So in the 2017 bond, long-awaited Saginaw High School athletics renovations, we are currently starting design with VLK after they have been awarded the architect of record for the project. Alongside with our athletics department, we're coordinating a good time on when that project can start. So there's still a lot of discussion pieces as far as design before we get to that point. On top of that, we're still to add Eagle Mount Saginaw ISD lettering to all buildings district-wide. That'll take place by the end of this year. And then the YMCA facility, I can't tell you more than what Cleat has already shared. They're looking at awarding a general contractor in November, and then hopefully procuring some products before they start construction in the springtime of 2025. Now for the 2023 bond, Dick and Heidi Elkins Agriculture Science Complex. Construction is scheduled to begin in the summer of 2025. We have toured multiple facilities and are finalizing our design before we bring it to you, the board. Saginaw High School Scene Shop, we're going to go ahead and package that in with the athletics renovation to make it more attractive to bidders as they're looking at some higher value projects. Boswell High School this fall, actually starting hopefully in the Thanksgiving break, we will begin reflooring Glenn D. Reeves Fine Arts Center. So that'll be the PAC all the way into percussion, choir, band hall, and the corridors adjacent to all those rooms as well.
Talking about the stage, or are you talking about the floor?
The actual carpeting and VCT. Any flooring that you see in there that we can change out, it'll be done. And then along with Boswell, for the summer of 25, we'll be replacing carpet in classrooms, Northbrook, Parkview, Willow Creek, and then VCT at Bryson and Saginaw High School Band Hall. Marquee signs will be replaced here soon for Boswell and Chisholm Trail. And then for projects that'll be completed in the 2025 summer, the rest of the marquees, Highland, Creekview, Ed Wilkie, and Prairie Vista. And then for the real exciting projects, which all principals love, rooftop units and roof replacements will be going on at Bryson, Gilliland, and Boswell High School. Along with the rooftop units at Boswell, we will be replacing components of the chiller system as well. That project will be done in multiple phases because it incorporates so much of the system. The majority will be done the summer of 25 and then completed in summer of 26. We'll also be replacing components of the chiller and boiler systems at Chisholm Ridge, Greenfield, Halfley Development Center, High Country, and Remington Point. We will finish the safety security camera additions. Last summer, we did all the elementary schools and exteriors of the secondary campuses. We'll be going on the inside of the secondary campuses and adding cameras where safety security deems most valuable. Highland Middle School will be adding an ADA walk path from the upper drive down to the actual football field itself. Saginaw High School, we're adding a sidewalk along Basswood Drive to give kids a good walk path to the campus from those houses adjacent. And then we'll be doing tennis court resurfacing, Creekview, Ed Wilkie, Highland, Prairie Vista, Boswell, and Saginaw High School. For the Proposition B, we will be replacing network switches at Chisholm Trail High School, wireless access point replaces at various campuses. We're refreshing the data center, the main server at our main data housing over at Halfley Development Center. And then we'll continue purchasing laptops that were ordered back in 2019 to 2020 that have been broken and need to be replaced. Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So back a couple slides on the Saginaw High School Scene Shop. To your knowledge, is there a plan for where that's going to be? I know there's a open space right outside of their,
Right.
the exterior rolling door. Is that where that space is going to go? Because otherwise they're.
Right now, that's the proposed plan. We have a nice, it's like a 30-yard by 30-yard pad. I mean, it's a pretty significant size that we would just extend out onto that already built pad.
Good.
Any other questions? Mr. Lee, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
That concludes all our reports, so we'll move into action items. And the first one is to appoint a 2024-2025 Board Naming Committee. I'd like to thank Tim Daughtry and William Bose for serving on that committee this last year. And do we have a recommendation?
Yes, I would like to nominate William Bose and Tim Daughtry and yourself to serve on that committee.
Do a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Paige, second by Steve. All in favor? I should have asked if there's discussion. Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. The next is to conduct a public hearing. So at this time, on behalf of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, I declare an open meeting on the 23-24 school first report. The hearing will be open to public comment after a brief report from Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Rob Welch.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tolbert. And again, in front of you, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board, tonight we have as we do every year, this time we discuss our school first rating. That is the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, and is a look into the state's scoring system for our financial health. And so very briefly, in your packet, we gave you a copy of the report as it stands out on our website right now. We have it there available with prior reports, again, available for you. So I'm just going to go through some highlights here and let you just refer to that report rather than run through that whole report on the screen, if that's fine. So the 2023-2024 report is based on the 2022-2023 data. It's a potential of 100 points. And if the district scores more than 70 points, that is passing in this scenario. Of the 21 indicators or listed numbers, there's actually 19 scored indicators for the 23-24 rating year, and to again evaluate our financial status and compliance. Our score for this year is a 96, which is the same score we've got for the last 5 years. And that is an A for superior achievement. And so we're very appreciative of all the work that has been done throughout the district into maintaining that high and the highest scoring and rating available for the district. Within that score, there are 4 critical indicators. We passed all 4 of those. If you fail any one of those, it's an automatic failure of your rating. So very, very critical to meet all 4 of those. And of course, we did continue to do so. The rating does indicate our strong performance and compliance. And then, we'd like to be able to achieve a perfect score, but one of the challenges of a fast growth school district is that we will have debt, and that debt in relation to our property values is where we drop 4 points off of a perfect 100. And so that's one of those things that, yes, we actually score very well there, but the reality is we'll never quite get to that 100 as long as we're growing like we are. It's just we're going to always have debt and not be able to get a perfect score there. But we score well in everything else, and of course score as well as we can there, and so we maintain that high rating. The other item is just pointing out that our low administrative cost ratio, we get the full 10 points there. The actual scoring range for a district over 10,000 students is between 8.5 and 18.5. If you score if you have a ratio that is less than 8.5, you can get 10 points. If you have more than 18 points, if your ratio is 18.5 or higher, then you would receive 0 points. In this case, our ratio is 7.4. We're well below that 8.5. We run very efficiently as far as our administrative cost ratio, and I think that's something to commend make sure our taxpayers are aware that we work very hard to make sure as much of our taxpayer dollars get to the classroom as we can, and that shows with that ratio. Again, just showing our history. And we've been showing the 3 prior years, but if we put the 4th prior year on here, you'd see that we also had a 96 in an A in a superior achievement. So 5 years in a row at that highest achievement level. As a reminder that we do keep those reports going back to well over 13 years now. We have that data available to to anybody accessing our website. There's also other ratings that we follow would be our audit rating, and which we have clean audit reports. Those are also available going back to 2012-13, again, available on our website for anybody who wants to review. And then our credit ratings, our current credit ratings, we maintain a AA2 with Moody's. Standard & Poor Global has us at a AA-, and then Fitch has us at a AA as of this year. And again, that kind of matches our AA2 and keeps us in line. That again, those ratings translate to savings in our bond issuances on the interest rates, which then turn into savings to our taxpayers. So we're, again, follow those and are very appreciative of being able to maintain those. The other potential ratings that are out there, there's been a question of does the district participate in the comptroller's transparency stars, and we actually do not participate. That's an optional program. It was put in place over 10 years ago, prior to the level of cyber threats that we have in the environment these days. And so we actually provide basically all the same information, actually more information than what the transparency stars require out on our website right now. And but one of the things that we do not do that would be necessary in order to provide the transparency stars from the comptroller is we'd have to post our raw format budget detail, check register transactions, and which really puts us at risk in the world of cyber-related fraud. And so we've chosen that information to be available only by public information request. It is, if somebody wants it, by all means, it's available. We just don't want to put it out there where it's easily accessible by those that have other other motives for us.
Also, just a comment there, Rob, is that bots will automatically harvest that information without any effort by any person trying to look it up. And so that information is being collected and used for patterns to see when you receive certain types of payments or when you give payments. And so we, as y'all know, a few years ago, we had somebody pretend to be a company, one of our companies that we work with, and were asking us to make payment in a different way, and it was caught early on, contacted the business, and the business said, no, that's not accurate. And so these things, as he'll get into in the next slide, are very real, and we know that this has been a question in the community why we do not participate. We don't participate because it could lead to damage to the school district, and if we felt like that was something that we needed to do, we would. But there's a lot of transparent information out there already. The check register is one that really gets into some of the details that I was just talking about in looking for patterns and how people could masquerade. And it's only becoming more complicated. So he'll get into here in a second, but Rob and me and Kirk back there, we're the 3 prime targets for cyber attacks. And so that's something that is just very real in our world. So go ahead.
That's just kind of noting the stats here. Deloitte had found that 91% of all cyber attacks begin with a phishing email. And then, and just knowing that from that standpoint and seeing how much, really since the pandemic, we've seen a significant increase in attacks on institutions, especially schools, because of the amount of devices that we have pushed out in order to operate remotely. Cyber attackers have tried to exploit that. And so you know, that information becomes very usable, whatever it may be. A lot of times, like I said, the payment information, or like Dr. Chadwell mentioned, payment information, the vendor's looking for patterns, looking for when they get paid, then going to their website, you know, finding that vendor, going to their website, finding their officers, masquerading as in, I've even seen where they have focused on getting into the vendor's website, getting into their email, hacking into their email, and then intercepting existing email chains, so that it really does look like it is the individual, you know, that we're dealing with on the other side of our vendors, and it's really not. It's been very, I've seen very, very targeted attacks. And so anything we can do to avoid such risk, we're trying to do so. And so again, that's part of our strategy there. Again, highly transparent, information's available if somebody wants it. We just don't want to make it available to the bots. And so with that, any questions in regards to our School First report? Again, all those details are out there on our website if anybody wishes to peruse those multi-years of reports that are available.
Any questions? Okay, at this time, any and all persons who wish to address the board on this matter are invited to come to the podium. Being none, I declare the public hearing on the 2023-2024 School First report is closed. Please be advised that the report, as Rob said, will be posted on the district website for further public review. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Since the board is not required to take action on this item, we will proceed with the regular agenda. We have our next item, Mr. Kittinger, act on 2024 budget amendment.
See, now it's the report he just gave us. I recommend we approve the budget amendment for October.
Second.
Was that Blake or Ron? Ron?
You got me.
Wherever you run away.
Okay, motion by Steve, second by Ron. Any discussion?
Unless you just want me to think of a question since you stayed up here all this time. I have none.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Kittinger. Our next is for our Dr. Waters to approve the 2024 submission of a class size waiver to TEA.
Good evening, President Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, and members of the board. Each elementary campus submits a weekly grade level enrollment report. After careful review of these grade level enrollment reports and the PEIMS coordinator's weekly enrollment report for grades pre-K through 4, the district currently has 10 campuses with 14 grade levels that have exceeded the 22-to-1 state mandated class ratio since the September board meeting. So the district would like to request a waiver from the TEA to exceed the 22-to-1 mandated ratio requirement. And I just wanted to kind of give you a little comparison from last year to this year too, that at this point, last year we had 15 campuses, this year it's 16, so that's similar. But the number of classrooms has almost doubled. So we had 41 campuses at this time last year, but it's 80 as of right now that need that. So classrooms, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I said the wrong word. So we have 80 classrooms. And as Dr. Chadwell mentioned in the earlier part of the board meeting, we have a couple teachers, that have been, we got some postings there. You can go up tomorrow for some openings for teachers to help provide some relief in a couple of those, but we do have essentially double what we had this time last year. In fact, last year we finished the year with 81 and we're at 80 today.
How many frozen positions do we have?
I'd have to ask Maria. I don't know it off my head.
I don't have the exact number, but it's approximately $7 million for frozen positions.
All teachers?
No, that includes district staff too. A portion of that would be, did you say about 25% of that would be teachers, Maria?
Yes.
About 1 point.
questions.
I make a motion to approve the submission of the pre-kindergarten through fourth grade class size waivers as presented.
Motion by Tim, second by Paige. Any discussion?
I say it every time, I'm gonna say it again, nobody up here wants to have bigger classes and more kids in classrooms. It's one of those necessary things that hopefully we can get some things, you can get some teachers in to help with this, and it doesn't make anybody happy to have to
And the
do this.
legislature give us some money,
Yeah.
release some money.
It's a very difficult thing.
Any other discussion? I'm not going to comment because. So motion by Tim, second by Paige. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Waters. Mr. Lee, consider awarding contract for the HVAC equipment replacement at Boswell.
Good evening, President Tolbert, members of the board, Dr. Chadwell. The district advertised a request for competitive sealed proposal for the replacement of mechanical equipment at Boswell High School. 4 vendors provided quotes on the project. Of the 4, 3 provided qualified bids. Was Century Mechanical, Decker Mechanical, and United Mechanical. Infinity Contractors did not provide a complete bid as they did not meet the full scope. After reviewing all the bids and the pricing provided, it was determined that Decker Mechanical provided the most qualified bid. Funds for this project will be coming out of the 2023 bond. The recommendation is to award Decker Mechanical for the HVAC equipment replacement at Boswell High School for a cost not to exceed $6,233,473.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Ron, second by Paige. Any discussion?
Have we worked with Decker Mechanical before?
We have. They replaced rooftop units at Halfley Development Center, and then they also replaced some equipment associated with Saginaw High School 2 summers ago.
We were pleased with what they gave us.
Yeah, they did a good job.
What happened with Affinity? They just misunderstand the scope?
Right. There is a portion of the scope that they just completely missed. We're replacing a lot of the chiller piping within the rotunda, the circular portion of Boswell that encompasses the library and the bistro classrooms, and they just completely forgot to put a quote for it. So pretty significant portion of the project, unfortunately.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, that concludes all our action items. Any questions about the routine monthly reports? If not, we'll go to Dr. Chadwell with the board planning calendar.
Yes, this is on page 213 of your packet. We do have on November the 21st, if the board approves, in the consent agenda, a change to the superintendent appraisal date to the 18th of November at 2:30 prior to the other board meeting. We also have under reports, advanced academics report, district and campus improvement plans update, and then during action items, potential class size waiver, and then under routine reports, you'll see those all listed there, the ones that we bring every month, plus the Red Ribbon Week report.
Thank you very much. Questions about any of that? Okay.
November, we also get the Booster Club and Fine Arts officers and reports, right?
Yes, is that not on there?
No. It's on a separate maybe
Did we
report.
move that to the board update?
Yes.
Okay, it'll be in the board update.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved that to the board update. Receipts for football and all that.
Okay.
This is just the officers. And the Booster Club reports.
Oh, okay.
It's been in the board report. Maybe we moved it to the board update. It's fine.
We did for
we did.
this past year, I believe we did.
I think we did.
Move it there, or maybe it was for this year. But it will be is it in the November, Megan?
I'd have to look at the schedule. I don't have that in front of me.
I'll
but
confirm it. and make
I
sure.
can confirm.
Okay. If it's not that, it's December, but it's one
The
of the.
It's in
athletic
November.
booster
That
financial
one's
report
October.
was in last week's update.
I didn't see. It was the PTA and PTO in October, Megan?
Yes, that's been recent. PTO has already been brought to the board in a board update. PTA is coming.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions? Okay. Everybody has, do I have a motion for the consent agenda for approval?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Steve, second by Paige. Any discussion on any of those items? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Board president's announcements. I'll just say that the superintendent search is continuing on. We are hopefully on schedule. We'll see where we are with the next. We've interviewed candidates. We're identifying some finalists, and we'll have those interviews, and we'll begin more processes. And so hopefully our timeline that we originally gave you, we're hoping for that to be we're hoping to be on schedule. We're hoping to have someone announced by December, January at the latest. So that's at the moment, that's where we are. For the board, if you'll check your board calendars, there's several dates over the next couple of weeks of things that we need to be aware of. So make sure that you check that. The ceremony of remembrance is on the 12th of November, and that's always a great, very, very nice, very nice ceremony. And so if you can make that, that would be great. And then the only other thing that I would say that is not really as a board president, but just on a personal note, is if you have not voted, please do vote locally and nationally and statewide. It's important. So thank you for considering that. And then Dr. Chadwell.
Okay. A couple of other events. We have PACE Community Night on November the 7th. We have Elementary Advanced Academic Night, all high schools on November 11th. The Holland Sun Career Technology Center's Community Open House is on November the 19th. The Women of Influence event put on by the Education Foundation is on December 7th at 11. If you don't have tickets and would like to go, please let us know and we can get you tickets to attend the event. We also have the Open House event on December 11th. This is a months of lasts, which is kind of probably getting old for all of you. But depending on when the next superintendent is named, this may be my last one that, where it's just me. So anyway, it's kind of odd, but thank y'all for all your due diligence and work in the process. We know it takes a lot of time, a lot of hours in order to do all the necessary work. So thank y'all for that effort. And I want to echo Dr. Tolbert's comments on voting. My kids, fortunately, so if anybody doesn't know this, I'm going to share this really news because we thought they were going to have to drive up on Sunday to vote because that's a requirement at my house, unless you want to go off the payroll. No problem. You don't vote. Nope, you're not on the payroll. You can quote that if you want to, no problem, because that's just a requirement. But we found out you can actually vote in some places. So they voted in Brazos County. They just could vote. They didn't have to drive up. They can only vote on state and national, which is all the ones we have right now. And so that was pretty cool. And then they sent me a picture with little stickers to prove it. So they're still on the payroll. But I agree with you. It's just something that we should do. And we'll be sending something out to our EMS community tomorrow to encourage people to vote and to just make that a part of their lifestyle of what they do. So I appreciate you advocating in that way, and it's just so important. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. We did not finish our closed session earlier tonight, so now it is currently 8:39 p.m. on October 28, 2024. We will now recess and reconvene in a closed meeting pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551074 for the purpose of deliberating the appointment, employment, reassignment, duties, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. So you don't need to feel like you need to stay for us to come back and close, but